Call 352-237-8222 for more information.
Ocala's information station, 1370 WOCA.
Ocala.
All right, 7 minutes after 10 o'clock. Thank you for tuning in. Robin, when I was 22 years old, I was working in a pizza place on the beach in Santa Monica, California.
Okay.
I'll be honest with you, I was checking out the babe. So I have a feeling I'm not alone with that. Our next guest, when he was 22, raised some money to build an orphanage.
Oh, wow.
I can't even compare. Our next guest has done some amazing things, made great contributions in his lifetime, started really early, and I guess I'll just swallow my pride and say, yep, he's got one up on me for sure. Jake Ducey is his name. He's an inspirational speaker, unsurprisingly. He's an advocate for children, unsurprisingly, and he's written a book. It's called Into the Wind, My 6-Month Journey Wandering the World for Life's Purpose. Jake Ducey, you are an impressive guy. Good morning, Jake.
Thank you. Thanks. It's great to be here.
And where are you? Where are you calling from right now?
I'm calling near from where you used to check out babes down in. I'm in San Diego.
Oh, okay. You're in that part of the world. May I ask how old you are now?
I'm 22 now. My journey began as I left school as a freshman, playing basketball in college when I was 19.
Oh,
and
man.
I turned 22 in July.
Oh, man, you've really one-upped me and probably a lot of your peers. So let's talk about the is it an orphanage in Guatemala? Was it an orphanage, a school? What was that?
Yeah, man, it's like a combination of the two of them. The way that they live out there is basically most people live on 25 cents a day or less.
Wow.
And the parents are kind of running around trying to get some money, so the kids are kind of just like left sitting there in the daytime. And so I was just really influenced by them and raised money in order to put them through. Basically, they kind of have a few people in the Mayan tradition that preserve the heritage, and these individuals teach the children how to reconnect with who they are and their culture. And on top of that, the result of that is that they spend time basically with a role model every day, and it was a really beautiful experience. I'm really proud that one of the families actually named their child after me. That there's a kid down there named Jake Ducey Gomez.
Oh, wow.
They bring the Guatemalteca, the white Guatemalan.
Oh, that's awesome. In addition to the things we've already mentioned about you, my goodness, it doesn't stop. At 22, look at this. He formed something called the Self-Reliance Institute. The name itself says something I believe in really strongly, is that, there was a story this morning with the government closures, and I'm not trying to make this a political chat, but unless you wanted to go that direction. But there was a story this morning.
I would love to go that direction.
Oh, okay. Well, there was a story this morning about a guy who was mowing the grass and picking up the debris around the Lincoln Memorial. He was told to stop by whoever is in charge up there, and he said, well, you guys aren't doing it, so I'm doing it. He's volunteering. There was a story this morning about some death benefits that the government stopped paying until they get back in order, that were going to be paid by a private charity. Again, the government doesn't want them to do it, but then, of course, the fallback, politically speaking, made them change their mind and said, okay, yeah, you guys can pay it while we can't. Mm-hmm. Self-reliance is everything. And I love what you're saying. So I went on a little tangent there. I should let you talk. But anyway, I just want to
absolutely. I absolutely agree with that. And, my book's a little bit spiritually grounded, but spiritually inclined in terms of finding ourselves. However, what I've uncovered is that regardless, we have to encompass the whole, which is certainly politics. And to me, I think one of the reasons we're on here is to talk a little bit about what's happening in the world from the younger point of view. And to me, the government shutdown is the exact opposite of that happening. And I think what that's calling us to do is become more self-reliant and say, instead of you fix this for us, okay, what can we do as individuals rather than waiting for something that's not happening.
Right. Well, and that's often the case. You know, one of the criticisms that people have against those who want less government is that we're not thinking Christ-like. We're not thinking about giving, and I've often thought, well, no, it's exactly the opposite. We don't want somebody to rob in order to give. We want to give freely and voluntarily. We want to live the way God probably intended us to live, not to ignore each other, but to do for each other without some big brother grab. Because when Big Brother grabs the money out of your pocket, it's becoming political. I'm so sorry. When the government takes the money from you in order to distribute it to those who need it more than you, guess who keeps really the most of it? The government.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, so tell me.
I'm with you.
All right.
Absolutely. That's what self-reliance is about. As Henry David Thoreau gives us this perfect example of what to do when you feel like that.
Well, and you took it to Guatemala. And you took it,
I took it to Guatemala. Yeah, absolutely. You know, self-reliance to me is that when all of us have the basic necessities, then we can really make the contribution that we can make to the world. And those necessities vary in accordance to where we are. You know, for some people it is money, and for other people it's education. For some people it's just, man, a lot of people just need some emotional support, and I think it varies in accordance to where we are.
Yeah, right.
But that's what it is. It's about providing the foundation, so then we can make a contribution with our lives, and not wait for government to do it. You know, that's what's propelled me to action. Is, man, I'm probably not going to be able to have kids unless I do something, and I'm not going to wait for some guy sitting in a chair in the White House to make a decision for me, when I know right now what I'm good at and how I can contribute. It's just a matter, I think, of us doing it. Yeah.
Well, you were put up on a pedestal because you received an athletic scholarship, but then you started spiraling. We were told you had a drug problem.
Yeah, you know, I think something else that happens often in our culture is we're pretty focused on physical success rather than, I think, emotional success and being fulfilled. And you know, I had basketball offers to play in college, and I was first team All San Diego, and so I was focused on, you know, I was in the paper and this and that, so I thought everything was good. And I think when we're not really making the contribution that we can make to the world, I think oftentimes, at least in my own life, it was that, man, I needed something to mask my selfishness and I think general lack of aliveness. And so by freshman year, I was not freshman year of college playing sports. I wasn't in a good space. And then I started reading some inspirational books, and I realized that all I was doing was learning concepts. I wasn't applying them to my life, and that's what propelled me to drop out and experience life on my own.
Wow. I want to talk about the book and the title. There's something I want to say about the title. The book is called Into the Wind. And just on the little bit that we already know about you, Jake, I wanted to tell you something, and you probably already made the connection. You have talked about self-reliance. You have been a big advocate of self-reliance. You have been a big advocate of helping other people so they can become more self-reliant. And it also sounds like you're in favor of not that you don't want the government to have any role at all in our lives, but for the government to have a lesser role, and for us as individuals to help each other rather than waiting for you know, the big man upstairs. And I don't mean God, I mean the government to reach down. So in the old Bob Dylan song "Blowing in the Wind," the song goes on to say, you know, how many wars are we going to have to fight before we stop? How many times, you know, he goes through all these things, and then he says the answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. I thought, well, that's no answer. What the heck kind of an answer is that?
Yeah.
I remember when I was a kid hearing that, going, hello. Everybody is elevating this song to some kind of a level where it's answering it's not answering a question.
No, it sounded good.
You know, it's funny.
I like it.
Bob Dylan's one of my favorites. But you know what's funny is I called it Into the Wind because, you know, in in sailing or just in general in life, it's a lot. Even when you're running, it's easier to go with the wind. It's easier to go with the herd. It's easier to go with what everybody wants you to do. And I don't think that's what life is about to me. I think it's about challenging ourselves and going the hard route. And so, perhaps the answers Bob Dylan speaking of are found when we go against the wind, when we challenge ourselves.
And what I'm trying to say actually is that your discussion today, and what it sounds like you're a book, and I want you to make sure we talk about the book a lot more than we have already. But I think you've answered the question I had about that song. I don't know if Bob Dylan meant
cool, man.
I don't know if Bob Dylan meant it that way. But it sounds like, if Bob Dylan says the answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind, it's like, hello, what the heck is that supposed to mean? Now, some 40-something years later, Jake Ducey comes along, and says, here's what he meant. Here's what he meant by that blowing in the wind. It's helping others by experiencing life.
How did you sustain yourself when you traveled to the other countries? Because you had difficulties over there too. I mean, what did you do for money, or did you need money?
Right. Yeah. Well, I think a little bit of a misconception is that it's more expensive to travel than it is to rent space down here in America. And I had money saved up from working at summer youth camps in basketball. And basically, when you get into a third world country, I'm spending 25 cents a dollar a day. And ultimately, when I got into Asia, I actually lost my wallet with all my bank cards. And a family took me in the concrete shack. And they fed me. They got me a phone to call America and took care of me. And one day, we went up into the mountains in the rainforest in Indonesia, and they wanted to take me to their favorite waterfall. And we got to the top of this mountain, and it was pouring rain, and I slipped, and I fell. And I could see my life flashing before my eyes. I fell off the track, and I hit the ground, and the water was rushing on top of me, and I could hear them screaming my name. And I opened my eyes to kind of look and see if I was okay. And when I opened my eyes, one of them jumped off after me. So, can you imagine, here you are, you're on the outskirts of civilization, and some guy you don't even know jumps off and risks his life to save you. And that really hit home with me. And that's when I realized that I had something that I needed to share. And when we do have something that we feel we can share to the world, that it's our responsibility to do so as self-reliant beings. And so that was what inspired me ultimately to come back and write my book.
All right, that's awesome. So in the book, you share with us 6 months of your life. And do you explore the inner things that are going on? You sort of just did now, but I mean, what's going on inside of you? Does that evolve?
Oh, absolutely. Thanks. Yeah, it's a combination of both. It's an outer experience, but it's an inner experience as well. I actually ended with 14 days silent meditation in Thailand, and the whole time is about exactly that, putting to test these principles that I think so many of us hear about in our lives. Even when we're just growing up and somebody says, well, if you take a chance on your dreams and put yourself in uncomfortable situations, you're going to grow in character. And this is possible if you can keep taking steps in order to be yourself and be different. And putting to test these different things, and writing about what has happened in my experience while I've been doing it. So it actually made the Amazon bestseller list, and right now on Amazon this week, actually, they're having a cool little sale on it. And so yeah, it's a combination of an adventure book, but also of a book about searching for meaning in life.
I love that, and I think we can see that's probably going to be the life course that you live as you go through into your future. The fact that you've got so many things that you've started, including, and the book is just one of the things at this point in your life, is kind of evidence that you really have had this all along. And it just, I guess maybe it took some stimulation in order for it to happen for you. I don't know. And maybe that whole football thing was part of it for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think a lot of us, I think all of us, I think there's that one quote that if you just started, you would surprise yourself by what you're capable of. And I think on some level, before we all fall asleep and this and that, we see the dreams of what we're really capable of. And, for some of us, like myself, there just has to be some things that ignite it, falling off a cliff, being discontent with my success and supposedly a promised lifestyle, which was college basketball, business degree, get all that type of stuff. So I think we're in for a really exciting time where I think a lot of us are going to start surprising ourselves and are surprising ourselves with what we're capable of.
Right.
And as I don't foresee a large shift in the very near future within the workings of government, and so I think that relies on us in order to do things about it. And those listening to say, okay, well, what can I do about it, rather than just waiting and waiting and waiting.
Right.
And there is an irony here, because you bring up celebrityism and how politicians like to associate themselves with celebrities and how they want the celebrities to find the answers. And you're doing something very grounded, yet this book may propel you into celebrityism.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think, it's something that's out of our control is how the media depicts an individual and what they've achieved.
Right.
And, I think one of the reasons we kind of got together with this was to talk a little bit about how the media has used entertainment celebrities that certainly are not looking at the same interests that we are when they're that far outside of our income bracket, and specifically for Obamacare, where we're needing the younger generation in order to pay this off. It's certainly a little bit puzzling when Jay-Z and Beyonce are telling people that they need to sign up for it when they're worth $1 billion.
Exactly. It just doesn't seem right that they should be talking about something they don't really know anything about.
Well, it is. I guess it's a common ploy to recruit somebody with a famous face, especially a current famous face, or actually the famous face of the generation you're trying to reach. Maybe that's what it's all about. This morning.
Oh, absolutely. Because they didn't get Bob Dylan to do it. They got somebody who's doing the 15 to 30-year-old.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
No, good point. And this morning we were having this discussion about Mr. Rogers. There was this big long article I read of some of the cool things about Mr. Rogers, and he was a reluctant celebrity also. And maybe, I'm not saying you'll be the next Mr. Rogers, but I'm saying he hated TV. But he got into TV because he saw that it was influencing children in a bad way. And so he wanted to do something in a good way, and his reluctance to be a celebrity didn't stop him from becoming a celebrity. But nothing wrong with becoming a celebrity that actually does good, or
No, I don't think so at all. I think exactly that. I write in the book that it's not where we go or where we are, but what we do with what we have. And so to me, it's very similar. I mean, I don't own a television, and my mom one day I had a series of some news studio interviews for television, and I came back. My mom said, "You've been on the TV more than you've watched it in the last year," and I do. I think there's a really good opportunity in order for voices to be heard in different ways, rather than just the same ones that we're hearing that are being funded by these megalithic record labels and such. And so I think it's a fun time where there are young people that are starting to think outside the box and thinking differently. However, it concerns me when the available information to them is coming from people that really can't relate to them at all.
Well,
That's right.
and to tell you the truth, Jake, I think that is perhaps one of my favorite things about the new social media phenomenon that we have. It's because everybody and anybody, and I know there are some nutcases out there, but there are lots of level-headed people as well, and they're all using it's the Andy Warhol, to pick on another old celebrity who's now departed, of course, but I mean, he had that statement everybody always uses that we'll all have 15 minutes of fame. Well, forget the fame part. Just constant access to a vehicle through which we can really literally communicate to the world. And I think if the message is embraced, and I'm sure yours is, it'll propel itself. Other people will carry it from one to the next. It's not word of mouth, it's word of social media from individuals who say, you know what, listen to this guy, look at this. I mean, the interview we're doing right now, we'll put on Facebook, and hopefully somebody will say, yeah, let's share this one with this guy. You know, it's one of those things where you didn't have to get on the Today Show in order to get to the entire population.
Absolutely, and that brings up a couple of things that I'm really passionate about. And first, I just like to back that up with my own story. Is, I mean, I've only been on local television stations, and my book made the Amazon bestseller list still, and we're on the second print, and that's happened solely because of social media. And another thing that I think is really interesting is that I think a lot of people have a doom and gloom look at the world. Man, what are we going to do? This is falling apart here, from economics to environment. But what we have to remember is that we have the vehicle in order to reach the whole world right now. You know, Justin Bieber, for example, Jay-Z, these guys make a music video and they get 500 million views in a few days. That means that that's still available for a different message. And so I think that the world can actually shift in a quicker time than we think if we fully embrace why we're here and what we can do about it, and use these vehicles that we have that you spoke so beautifully of in order to reach people, in order to inspire and inform people.
Yeah, I think you're very well, and I love the way you express yourself. The book is called Into the Wind, so let me get the information so that our listeners can look it up and look you up. Do you have a website?
Yes, and that's JakeDucey.com. It's Jake, J-K-E, Ducey, D as in David, U-C-E-Y, and I've got a lot of awesome stuff. I write a daily blog out there, and anything from politics to practical inspiration, and it's called The Daily Ducey, and you can check out my book on Amazon right now. And got a lot of cool stuff. I'm just releasing an interview series with a lot of cool people, from Laird Hamilton, who had surfed the largest wave ever, to Rob Machado, to Immortal Technique, who sold the most independent hip-hop records in the world. He's a political activist, and just a lot of cool stuff about individuals overcoming challenges.
You quote. I just went to your website and you quote Napoleon Hill, somebody I also have admired, and the quote that you use right under the picture of yourself: "Cherish your visions and your dreams, as they are the children of your soul, the children of your ultimate achievements." You know, Rob and I have a history of doing children's music, and one of our children's songs is called Dream, and one of the lines is, "I never wish upon a star. Everything you wish you are, you can be. If you..." how does it go again? Everything you wish you are, you can be.
Everything you are, you can be, if you keep your dream alive.
If you keep your dream alive and keep on trying. Yeah. I mean, it's a beautiful song when you wish upon a star, but the truth is, you gotta hang your dreams on your own work.
Yeah, man, that's beautiful. I never heard that one.
Well, it didn't become famous, but
It's out there.
Yeah, but it was one we did. Jake, you are a delight to speak to. I kind of wish we had way more time to talk. You're definitely welcome back anytime. Good luck with everything you're doing. You are making a big difference in this world. The book is called Into the Wind. The website, JakeDucey.com, JakeDucey. Robin already made it easy for everybody. Just go to the WOCA website. You'll see Jake's name on the guest list for today, for this show. And the website is right there. I think it's a link, right, Robin?
Yes.
It's a link as well.
Yes, it is.
Jake, thank you for being on the air with us.
Hey, thank you, guys. That was awesome.
You're definitely welcome back anytime. We'll take a little break, and we'll be right back.
Legally Yours, brought to you by Fuller & Fuller Attorneys at Law. On the air every Wednesday morning at 10:30 a.m. with John Fuller, a board-certified civil trial lawyer for over 25 years. John welcomes your questions, from business to complex family matters to legal disputes. So tune in every Wednesday morning at 10:30 a.m. for Legally Yours with John Fuller, right here on WOCA 1370 AM and 96.3 FM, The Source.
The following message is brought to you by the Florida Division of Emergency Management, the Florida Association.